I read the minutes, and I open a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 8th.
Manny made a motion for the minutes. We have a second.
I'll second the motion for the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye. You got it, Dave.
No meeting mail, no appointments. We got the 2024 golf rates. Dane has something proposed for us for this year.
Yeah, so we, last meeting, we tentatively discussed the rates, which are sitting in front of you. And I think I also gave these out last time, but this was basically the impact of those rates should we elect to move forward with those. If you want, you want me to distribute that? Because that one has the outing, resident outing rate on it.
Yeah, probably printed a few of these.
Sure.
Take one for myself.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
So with the impact of those rate increases, that's on the spreadsheet that I just handed you. Typically, as we discussed previously, tentatively, was the inflation is a little bit higher than 3%, and for the past decade or so, obviously inflation's been somewhat flat up until we hit that COVID area, and we've kind of done sporadic rate increases depending depending on where we sat financially and how we saw our cost increases going up from year to year. We might take a delay a year or two and then put a rate increase in with inflation being steady at 3% or plus. Conservatively, I put together a rate increase of 3%, which is roughly $2 around, a little bit more on outings because we sat lower than most of the golf courses with regards to outings, and we are fully booked with outings, so we should kind of move those into place. And then as well as if you check the pass holders, we had delayed an increase on those on the last increase, so to get those up to speed and get everything in line, those increases are also included. So if there are any questions, feel free to review them and ask. But in checking the other golf courses, we're still right where we were. Everybody is still in the sticky inflation mindset. They're getting a little bit more than they actually need, and we're staying in our wheelhouse of where we always sit. So, which leaves us a little bit of space moving forward. Should we need additional revenues, and the rounds are still strong, you can address it as needed. But I think getting aggressive on it is going to do more harm than good at this point. But obviously, when we need it, we can go after it.
And what the pass holder bumps were because we didn't increase it last year. The pass holder bump.
Yep.
Is because we didn't.
We didn't increase it, correct?
Which started to give you some conflict with.
Yes. Yeah. We were seeing. So typically we do our price break with our twilights, right? So on your low peak playing time, off peak playing time during the day when it started to die off, when we were in that realm, we would try and entice people with a lower price point. Now, seeing how the demand is there, we can get pretty much rack rate if we wanted to, but it does offer an opportunity for someone who's looking for a cheaper price point to come in and play. It keeps your tee sheet full, but what we were seeing is our twilight customers were now buying passes rather than our rack rate customers buying passes. So you don't want to have your discounted golfers buying your discounted program. You want to keep that in a realm where if you have an avid, loyal player that's looking to get an additional value, then they can commit their loyalty to more rounds and get an additional discount. But you don't want to give the discount golfer an additional discount as well. So, I mean, that's, I don't know, logical approach.
Hey, Dana, I got a question. When's off-peak start? I don't remember. Rates. What are off-peak till what?
So basically, off-peak only relates to residents at this point. Because
Okay.
as soon as we start the season,
All right.
we go, since COVID, we went right into our regular season rates.
All right.
So from Jump Street, we go to regular rate. The residents get an additional discount to start the season, March, April, May. And then
Okay.
after, then they get October and November,
Okay.
December.
All right.
The residents get an
Okay.
additional bump, which is
March,
basically,
April, May. Okay.
basically it only entails a cart fee for residents in June, July, and August.
Okay.
That's what it
All right. I wasn't sure when it started and when it.
Yeah. So for the peak of the season, when we're full on with everybody
on.
living on Cape and everybody doing their golf, traveling and playing golf,
Okay.
the residents pay for carts on weekends. Outside of that, they don't,
Sounds good.
which is an extremely competitive rate and beats all the rates that we have.
Yeah.
So if you bought a pass as a resident, you're actually cheaper. It's cheaper if you just buy it by the round as a resident. If you're riding 18, if you're walking or you know,
Okay.
other way, you know, the best way to do it is if you're non-resident, buy the pass. If you're a resident, you pay the resident rate. If you're playing 18,
Good idea.
riding.
Weekdays.
In the peak season. Because off peak, you're playing without paying for the cart.
Yeah.
That's the cheapest way through.
I think these rates are more than fair.
What's the rate for the cars? What do we charge for?
We're
the
at
cars?
we're at $20 for 18 and $10 for 9. So we put the additional on the walking because everybody pays the walking fee, and then you buy the cart. Same thing with leagues. We increase the walking, and you leave the cart league the same
Oh,
price. The
sorry.
discount's on the cart league. So if you're gonna come and play in the league and you play 9, you're
Yeah.
gonna you have the increased charge. You know, the inflation basically. You're staying
So we didn't
equal
move it all
with
on
inflation.
those 2 days.
Yes.
Card stays at 20.
Yep.
And junior rate, obviously, to build the game, grow the game locally and around and the surrounding communities. This is the place to play and have the kids come out and play
Yep.
play golf. On the weekends, I try and encourage them to play in the latter part of the day. But most of the time, it works out that way.
You know, that
Because
used,
kids don't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning anymore.
but you know what, that used to be, there used to be an opening there, but nowadays.
No, it's closed.
Nowadays, it's just jam-packed whenever the kid can get in after 1,
Yep.
which is not easy anymore.
Mm-mm. Listen, we did it right. We grew our business to the point right to where we want to be at this point. We're controlling our price points. We're controlling our average dollar per round. We're controlling our pass quantities. So, I mean, as needed, we can fine tune this to go after what we need to be. When you compare us to our competition, as I said, they've been much more aggressive than we have in going after their rack rates. I think someone told me Allendale's like $89 on the weekend, and I think McCoy's like 84. So I mean, that leaves us a little bit of room to grow. But again, with what we offer, this is a great price for the quality and the play that you're getting. But there's space to build on it if we need to.
Seems reasonable.
I think so. It helps to boost up the revenue a little bit without trying to
Yeah, I think that's.
put it too much to the customer.
Yeah.
we had a few comments already that people were appreciative of where our price points are, because they have stated that they imagined that they would be higher. And they still say, you know, this is still the best value around. And that's our point where we want to be. That, I mean, I can't stress that enough. That's where we're going to maintain, you know, our money spot, the sweet spot, is to be the value play, because we don't have an affluent surrounding of communities to support this place. So you got to kind of balance it with something that's, you know, so you don't price gouge your customers out of being interested in playing there.
Looks good to me. Those rates.
Do we have a
Yeah, I
motion to approve these rates, or approve recommending these rates?
Second. You making the motion? Or
I was asking.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the
And
motion. I
Maybe
think
second it.
Good job.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right. National Golf Foundation update.
Just a quick, that will be on the agenda for Tuesday, Board of Select.
Yes.
You will attend that for us?
Tuesday at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock,
Yes.
in case they have any
Yeah, if
questions.
you have questions.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the National Golf Foundation update, so back in February, we received an updated report with some edits that I had emailed to everybody, and I know we haven't met in a little while, so I wasn't sure if people had read through it, had any further questions, anything we thought might be edited, if we think something's not potentially correct. And then the next step would be, if we think we're good to go, we invite our Mr. Singer to come up and give his formal presentation on it to us.
And that will be the final report?
I mean, I'm guessing unless questions got raised at that point in time that needed any further clarification
Okay.
or work, you know what I mean? I think that unless we have something to say right now, I think he would present the status that it's in now to us. And then if us, the selectmen, finance committee, if they chose to come to listen to it, you know, if anybody had questions that needed clarification or pointing out in it, I think that would be the point in time where they would make one final edit and then issue it as a final report. But I think at this point, unless we have any further questions, I think it's time to have him come back and give his view of where, you know, the data came from, their outlook, what their, you know, basically justifying the written word to us.
Right. Will that be in the form of a visual presentation?
I believe so. And
And will involve the selectmen also.
oh yeah, I think when we pick that date, we want to make sure that they're available if they want to be, and I think they would want to be.
Yeah.
Just have a joint meeting or have it together, or it should be their meeting, we attend it, however it works out for everybody's schedule and for our person to come up. But I think it should definitely include us and them being the selectmen. You know, I think from my reading of it, it's you know, I think it's kind of confirmed what we all know, that we have, you know, a great course with amenities that don't match it, right? And done 25 years into operation, do we have some things that we need to address and make sure we're planning for? No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's definitely time to start making the plan for, at least at a minimum, getting rid of the 25-year-old trailer. Not that we need anything fancy, but we need something better than a double-wide 25-year-old trailer sitting there to welcome our customers in.
I don't think we need 3 buildings.
No,
The
there's,
first report that was including 3 buildings that we had.
well, he was trying to, you know, and Rich is not an architect or a planner. He was trying to think of if we were trying to do something in phases potentially. I was also, you know, misinformed. I had told him when we had talked briefly about whether he needed sprinklers or not, someone had said that, someone a while ago had said that that was a 4,000 square feet. I checked with architects and engineers that that's not true, that with most modern construction types today, it's actually 7,500 square feet, so we could scale a building up to that size without the added expense of a sprinkler system if we didn't want to. You know, so then that would also negate, say, taking two 3,500 square foot buildings to make 7,000 square feet. So that leads me to my other thought too, was, again, he was just doing some rough sketching, say, you need this, you need that, you need that. Do you do it in one building? Do you do it in two buildings? How do you do it? I think that's much more up to like a true architect slash engineer type of person to tell us that they can see the space, they can cite the space, they know the building codes here, you know, where he's living in Florida. Somebody who would know, yep, you can do this, no, you can't do this, or if you want to do that, it's going to cost you a lot more money, are you sure you want to do that? You know what I mean? So I think we need an expert in this type of siting and designing to tell us, you know, where can we go and what can we expect to spend, right? Because we don't want to have this champagne budget, I mean, champagne ideas and not be able to afford it. And we don't want to overbuild anything either.
No.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I figured that the National Foundation would send a thing more design what they thought there would be, not just recommending building after building after building. I thought that they would compound that into more condensed, so they know that we're tight for money. So the question is, that's why I asked the question.
I think they're more like operational, saying, do you have the capacity, do you have the customer base, do you have the demand to support something, versus what's the building code in Massachusetts and what does it cost to build a public building there, and should it be one building, two buildings, three buildings. I think it's more the idea of what do we need to continue to serve our customers, and then, you know, they're not going to know the ins and outs of every community in the country, I guess. Which is why, again, I just feel the next step for us personally would be to find a firm that this is what they do. Granted, that costs a little bit of money up front, but then you have an actual plan that could be feasible for us here with a designer who knows Massachusetts, who knows construction up here, who knows the local zoning and not zoning, but building laws and everything.
The 10-year projections was recommended by the National Golf Foundations suggests, from what I read, that it's going to be a hard pressed for us to break even over that period of time, especially if we end up borrowing money to support a clubhouse and other things. My question is, where do we go if the projections are such that suggest the town needs to subsidize the golf course? Did everybody else see that in the reading?
That's a good question.
It's a tough question.
I don't think the town has got any money at all to subsidize the golf course.
That's
Not right now.
I have no interest.
Not at all.
I have no interest myself in looking at a solution that would lead us to that. I mean, that's the one thing I want to reread myself, because if you look at where we are, I mean, granted we're in a high period right now compared to other years, entering a position where 300 and change thousand in debt is going away, but we've still been holding our own and doing well with that level of debt. Right? I think at one point they were saying invest so that your new debt would be 500,000. I already told Rich on the side, I said that I'm not comfortable with bumping it up that much. I would want to stick to a plan that had us investing, say, around what we've been paying on an annual basis now.
Yeah, if not less, right?
Right. So then,
Right.
You know, and then,
So that needs to be part of the discussion
right. So
with him.
because that gets back to the other part of it too, where one of their projections in saying that potentially we could afford that level of debt if we wanted it to be debt was also the amount of additional rounds in revenue, which I think we all thought was a little bit optimistic.
Well, that's what really concerns me, that the financial projections based on what I think is rounds that are way above what we will ever achieve. 44,000 rounds is a real push.
No.
So I think those are the types of things that, instead of being an intermediary or through email, it's what, I think that's part of the report coming up, and for him to walk us through it, and that's the chance to ask those questions right there as well. And, 'cause, you know, if we're using this as the foundation to make a pretty big decision, we want to all feel comfortable with any data. Nobody has a crystal ball, but we want
Right.
to be able to make sure that, you know, at least projection-wise, things look like they make sense. And, you know, I think he's a little pessimistic on that side with the comment of 10 years out from now, but then almost a little too optimistic up front, like, well, where's the balance? Or with, again, if we sat here, when we all sat here 10 years ago, no one would say we would have this boom right now that we've been having for 3 years either, right? So
Good point.
some of it is just more, I think, the analysis of and confirmation of how we've been doing, what level of play do we feel comfortable projecting for ourselves, what level of revenue do we feel comfortable things are going to come in, especially once the bond is paid off. And to me, make a plan going forward to stay within the same total amount of spending that we've been spending, you know, with normal inflationary expectations for, you know, labor and materials and things like that.
So the big thing right now is, in my estimation, is to find a replacement for the clubhouse. And the National Golf Foundation estimated a cost of $2 to $2.5 million. So we really need to see realistically what is available for us and what the cost would be, because that's a big chunk.
Right. You know, and that all gets back to what do we envision that building to be?
Right.
Right, because, I mean, we need a decent enough size, but we need 4 walls, a couple of bathrooms, a kitchen, and a service counter. You know, we're not building a private golf course clubhouse with locker rooms and changing rooms and function rooms.
Right.
So,
And exactly, and there will be some revenue from that investment.
exactly.
We hope so, yeah.
Yeah, and that offset some of the cost.
You do, but
Absolutely, because if you do anything like that, there is a perception by your customer that your rounds of golf is going to cost more. If you, I mean, when you do upgrades to a current building, if you do just painting or you retile the floors, is a perceived value by the customer. So if you went up so many dollars on whatever it is you're charging or everything you're charging, it's okay, I understand. So I mean, that's the relationship of
You
doing
would have a
that.
kitchen that will produce some income.
Well,
for
that
you.
too, right,
You
but
will
there's a
have-
combination of both.
You'll have a pro shop that should
Right.
bring some money in. And we gotta make some more rules, tighten up that the things has to be, everything to be supplied by the club, not be brought in by, you know. And once we establish all those rules, plus we don't have a mortgage to pay on the course that's paid
Right.
for.
Right.
And I think it should work out fine.
You plan on clubhouse without a function hall?
It
A
would
small
have,
function hall?
we would have like a small, I mean, I think, so. I'm just thinking out loud. It should have somewhere that
I mean, instead
probably
of
has
having
a
a tent
bar
out
and
there,
has
cooking, that's, you know, it's-
seats maybe 50 people, and an office for the director of golf to do his work, and then a pro shop that be ran there, and the toilets that we have to supply, and the cards underneath. So look what all you're gonna save in the cards also. Instead of just using them for 4 years, you may get 6 and 7 years out of it because they'll be off the weather. You store them underneath.
Since this obviously isn't going to happen tomorrow,
Right.
wouldn't it be a good idea to now possibly talk to an architect about conceptual designs? And say, okay, get a conceptual picture for X number of dollars, and then say, okay, like Manny said, well,
Right.
okay, no, cross this out, but
Right,
we
yeah.
want this.
Yeah.
You know, and
We had
then change that
quite a few
concept.
years ago, we had a whole bunch of pictures of
Yeah,
all
we
the different
did.
clubhouses.
Yeah,
We
like
had a
a
bunch of
bunch of
stuff.
stuff. Went on the
Yeah, I
ground.
went
what was
with
that?
you one
Yeah.
That was, yeah, but that was.
Southern Marsh.
I
We
realize
were in
that.
lean times at that point. We weren't getting there. We
Well, I
weren't
mean,
getting
you
from
can,
there.
you know, and while you do that,
Right.
you can take that conceptual design, put it up on a board in the pro shop or something, and say, okay, folks, this
Right,
is something
that's
we
true,
might
too.
consider. What do you think? Because you really want to kind of cater to the people who are obviously supporting you.
Mhm.
And what do they want? I mean, I'm sure a lot of them, you know, somebody might want the Taj Mahal, or somebody else might want, you know, a nice place where
Well, they could
we can
donate
come
some
and
money
sit
to it.
down, yeah. You know, so you get those ideas, and that helps shape that prior to actually making the investment, so you make a knowledgeable investment that's going to produce what people are interested in partaking in. Plus, you know, you can cover that storage. I mean, I don't know, some of you guys have probably played over at, you know, Swansea Country Club, one of the competitions. They have a very nice outdoor venue similar to our tent, but it is a fixed, you know,
It's
it's a fixed
connected.
roof. Well, it's a fixed roof. It's a pavilion.
Yeah.
And we've had, you know, we've had one or two superintendents meetings over there, and had our dining underneath the, you know, the pavilion.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. You know, and if you
That's a
plan that,
permanent structure?
yeah, it's a permanent structure. I mean, well, I'm sure you could take it down and move it some way, just have to take it apart. Wood roofed and what have you. But, you know, you can, knowing those things, you can plan those things and come up with an idea of,
And that time goes on, you can also change one.
yeah,
Fine example, my ballroom was a pavilion.
yeah,
It was on stilts, it was all open up, was nothing, no walls, it was just a roof.
yeah,
And they put chairs on it, and then they added a porch to it. You'll see what it is today.
yeah. So it
They didn't
evolves.
know that.
As long as you build, if you build something that's capable of being manipulated or evolved or changing, then you're in
Yeah,
better
well,
shape.
that pavilion.
I think we
I
need
still have some pictures.
to get an architect familiar with buildings around here, and then us as a group, or a few of us, go look again at different clubhouses that are town-owned and see where we go.
Yeah.
See how if we can come close to that, or do a little better, do a little less, but get some kind of an
But
idea.
it's we see off with 24, we did go see some there. There's 2 golf courses that we went and see. At least I did see it. I played with Cisco there. And they had a nice arrangement. It was a small, they had a tent, and there was a,
In Rhode Island?
no,
Oh.
over here in Massachusetts, on somewhere's Blitz Road.
River Bend?
I just.
Yeah, River Bend's owned by the town now. The other court, you know, I mean, there's that, the one in Montauk, which is semi-private, it's nothing huge, but I'll tell you what, they do a hell of a business out of there. And, you know, it's big enough for what they need. They added a deck off the front, so you can watch people coming in on hole 18. You know, they did a little more than, I mean, there's a Southern Marsh, same thing, you know, I mean, how many
The
people?
decks are where it's at. If it's nice out, because obviously, let's face it, when it's lousy out, nobody's really hanging out anyways.
No.
But if it's sunny and nice,
Yeah.
that's when people want to kick off their shoes and relax.
Hey, where I just stayed, every time at 5 o'clock when the day is kind of ending of golf, only the 9 holders go and play a little bit. You go to the clubhouse, but the outside of the clubhouse is open, just
Yep.
with the after the roof, but not big
Right.
enough, and there's more chairs here. Outside of that, and all you see is golf cars lined up like little animals there, and everybody is there for happy hour. And that will bring in, and I put a few
That's
dollars
small
in
money,
myself.
short cash outlay, right, to build that type of space, but
Yeah,
yet
the
you can maximize.
Roll down sides also, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly, open it up to the outside.
Yeah.
If it's
Nice
loud
sunny day,
out,
roll it
shut
up.
it down.
Yeah, you can add a porch to it and open it up.
Yeah.
They have the same thing there, that another section that they do that. And the drinks are not reasonable. It brings quite a bit of revenue.
So if I'm kind of on board with this route,
But I think what, excuse me, I think we should see it. I think with somebody in Fall River that one time proposed something to us that, I think you and I met with them, with something like $23,000 that they want to give us a schematic of what that avenue should
The
look
guy with
like.
blue framed glasses and the yellow,
Well, I
yellow
think
cashmere sweater.
if we're gonna go that route, I think we should, so under like the Massachusetts, like procurement and leading up to potential construction, you really should just come up with a quick set of what you're looking for.
Mhm.
You put it out there, they call it our request for proposals, and then you let the architects who are interested give you a proposal back. And you pick them on your qualifications, and then you agree on the price afterward. You agree on a not to exceed price afterwards. And that way.
We won't pick one that charges from home to work,
Right.
and from work to home, and
Right,
to
you-
the
a lot of
school.
times you agree on like a total not to exceed price. And then by following this step first and advertising and securing it, then you're allowed to keep that architect on board when you move into your construction phase. So if you need them to be on board to help you actually draw plans if you need it, or draw a foundation plan, or do your wiring or anything for you, that way they can do as much or as little as you need them to do, and you procured it correctly up front. So.
And then we don't have anything hold that you have to have a real architect to come in, a real good construction guy to tell you, did you need this beam and that beam? It will be somebody that's gonna give something that is new. He has to draw it and come out with a plan.
Exactly, and it would be someone that'd be able to, in my mind, I think we've all said it, that with a putting green, it probably makes like good sense, because you can have a wraparound deck that oversees the 18th
And 10.
green, or 10, the first
Yeah,
tee.
that was
Right?
suggested at
So
that
then,
time.
again, somebody like that's gonna be able to look at it,
In
see
between the
the
range and
elevations.
the clubhouse.
There's a lot of real estate in that area. Steve will tell you too. There's a lot of space that
Yeah,
they're gonna have the vision, right? Because that's
All
their
you have to
job.
do is be a little creative.
Right.
There's plenty of space and room there.
and another thing that I saw, I think we probably could use there in the promoted more, is for so many days, they play on the driving range. They play off the mats. Then they go boom, 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 and then when they're gonna come back, another so many days off the mats, and then they prepare the field that you made, a few holes here and there. And they keep by, and I think that works. Instead of just mats, 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 I mean, it's nice to go over there and try to hit some out of dirt, because that's what you're gonna meet in the fairways. There's not a mat to go with you. You know what I mean? And, but there was a pretty good distance, probably from here to that building, almost what we have over there. And just work that up. And then, and that range worked from, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning to 5, closed. And you had to go there like you were going to play golf. You would have to have shoes on,
Question for
your
you.
skirts on, a hat on, and go over there with a shirt.
We get a lot of guys that come out after work. I mean, they got paint all over them. Our demographics are a little bit more hands-on. Granted, we can do whatever you
It's
guys
just
want. I'm
suggestions,
just saying
you know what I mean?
that's what we see.
But I think that works. I love when we played off the grass, because you get the right idea. Am I hitting too heavy in the dirt? Or am I not thinking? Because the mat just brings you
Right.
into the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You just bounce and slide.
All right, I question it, David. So what you're saying is that if we put on whatever, Massachusetts Architect Association or whatever, if we just give them the footage we need or have them come in, these people can go forward and say, here's what I have in mind.
Exactly, I mean, they would probably start with us having conceptually what do we have in mind. I also
Okay.
want to know, like, what do we think potentially we would want to spend, just so they know we're talking,
Okay.
500,000 or 5 million, right?
So that would go out online and we would have people
Right.
apply or answer back and say, yeah, this
exactly.
is what, I have an idea, this is what we're doing, do you want to go with this, okay.
Because for what I envision us having, some big-time architecture firm that builds office buildings is not going to be interested in that job, right?
No.
But it's also
You're gonna get
potentially a
this-
little bit more than somebody who might just, drop a house plan for you.
Right.
But that's why you put out there what we're looking to do, so when
Right.
they see the ad, their own internal people say, is that what we do as
Does
a
that
firm?
fall within our?
Right, can we do
Purview.
that?
I didn't know you could do that, that makes
Right.
sense.
Well, we started a time there that we had, I think he proposed something. We have everybody make some little sketches, what do you think it would look like? And that was an idea to start, so everybody could be on the same page in looking for these guys out.
I think we ended up having somebody else's blueprint, if I brought in, it must have been 15 years ago, that we kind of bounced around. I might have it in my office still, I'm not sure. But they had the full gamut of locker rooms and all that stuff.
But we don't need that.
No, I know, but that's what I mean, you can look at it and go scratch
But
that.
I would like to see something that shows the clubhouse. We all probably agreed that the carts could go under
Yeah.
the clubhouse.
I
And,
like the preservation idea, I think that could save you
And
some
then
cash. in-
just
in
have a
slow
clear
times.
view of what you want to see. I think it's great suggestion, and we already talked about removing the practice green there and locate it into that area, bring Delmont closer to the driving range, and then have a chipping area and a putting area, and
If
in the
you put
center
that in-
there's some people to practice and cooperate and make it look nice.
If you put in a practice area, you are really separating yourself from your competition, because there aren't any golf
No,
courses
there's
around here that have a
nobody.
practice area. And we have the space for it, and it's, I would say, I'm not, no?
Well, maybe. No,
And-
I'm just saying because,
Yeah, no, be honest.
what do you want them to practice? You want them to practice, a 20-yard chip shot? You want to
No,
practice
we
to
just want them
No,
to
not
do
long,
little
short
chips.
game, short.
And then I have a flip,
Hitting the ball to the net.
a
Well, you
sand
got-
trap with a little.
Huh?
You got the driving
Well,
range,
I
you want
mean,
to hit long. If you want to
You
practice.
gotta, yeah, well,
Medium,
just, yeah,
That's enough.
as long as I don't think you have any problem with it. You just have to consider who the people are going to be using it and what their accuracy is, and
That's always-
they just have to be policed a little bit because you don't want the
Right.
balls
And
flying into
if
the parking
Our
lot.
superintendent create a couple, what do you call them? Turf farm for
Well, he
greens
nurseries.
and for fun fairways. And we have that, so when we build this area, we don't have to purchase that. We have our own.
we got a turf green that we attack.
No,
Well, we'll
a
take,
a
if-
practice screen that you use just to fill?
Yeah, I mean, if we need,
The nursery is called.
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah,
use.
we got plenty of land.
Yeah.
We'll use we currently use portions of the driving range tee if we need emergency sod.
Yeah, right.
And we can pull portions out of areas on the putting green for smaller projects and stuff. But, if you had you could use, you could use your practice area as a nursery, since it's, especially your target greens, because you're not really putting on them, you're just shooting to them. And then you could take pieces out of them if you needed to.
Well, you got one that you shoot into from a sand trap or within 10 yards or whatever range around it that you have, and then you have another one that's just plain like we have now, and you can practice putting and all that good stuff.
Well, we could too, depending on the space, you can always limit and say, listen, there's no more than X amount of people in the practice area at one time. So so you don't have a deluge.
Usually, most golfers have common sense and say there's too many people here.
You would think.
You would think. I
I'd
don't,
be
yeah.
surprised.
Well, I know I would, so I'm not doing this
Right.
now, I'll go putt.
What's next?
I'm not, whatever.
I mean, you can control it. There's only
Yes.
so many people go there, and people from the outside, they're not playing, or they have to be some kind of an arrangement that is a fee to go practice there.
Absolutely.
So in that way, you minimize the riffraff to go off the street and use that.
Yep.
So I think, getting back to the NGF part of it, I'll reach out to Richard, see what his schedule is of potential, have him give us a couple of different days or weeks that he could come up, and then get it back to us and the selectmen and see what's gonna work for everybody. And also as far as potentially reaching out to find an architect, I have a template that I use, and kind of tweak it towards what we're looking for, and just to get that started, we'll go from there.
So you will get that started?
Yes. You know, it costs you nothing to get it started at least.
That's the hard thing.
Yeah, we're just taking the first step.
Yeah.
All right.
That's when the babies fall. And
Yeah.
everybody gets hurt, right?
But then you pick them back up.
That's it.
I pick up bunker renovations.
But I
I got
think
33 new bunkers too.
Huh? Many as you want.
it's
You should, I emailed the detailed plans from Tim Garrish to everyone. We looked at bunkers on on holes 3, 6, 7, and 10. If you can look at the, I'll give you a brief synopsis of what is proposed to accomplish on the third hole. We're going to create a bunker up by the green of approximately, I'd say 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. You can see where we have to work on. We're going to incorporate drainage throughout that bunker, tie that into an existing drain system, although we have to repair that because I believe the pipe is collapsed, because it takes some time for that particular bunker to drain. And if you look at the back, basically 3/4 of the bunker, that's going to be renovated to a native area. Basically what we're going to do, there's a couple pieces of ledge in there, what appear to be ledge that may have to be taken out. If you see down the bottom where it says remove rock, that rock's about the size of the Sand Pro. But once that's removed, what we do is we come in there with a combination of topsoil and peat, spread that over the top, incorporate it in with, rototill it in, and then grate it, and then seed that to a rye, fescue, and chewing fescue, rye, partial bluegrass, a similar rough grass that we could either maintain as rough or let grow a little bit higher, and keep it as what some people like to term native.
The long bunker on 3.
Left-hand side of the third
Okay,
fairway.
how much of that we taking out?
Probably about 2/3.
From the green back to the
The
tee?
green backwards. If you look at the existing,
All right.
if you look at the
Okay.
photograph, you can
Okay.
see the bunker.
Yeah.
And you can see the dimensions, and if
Yeah.
you look at the notes, you can see the notes that he put in about where the existing bunker line is, where we'd be tying into the drain and so on. Of course, in the past, you're accustomed to seeing trees on the left side of that bunker up by the green. Those trees are no longer there, which gives us some opportunity.
It's a regular size
Work there.
bunker.
So it's going to be turned into a green side bunker instead of just a big.
Half fairway,
Swap,
half
yeah, area.
green side, yeah.
And I don't think it's going to change the difficulty of play any, because people have just as much a problem getting out of the grass swale as they do regular bunker. There will be some work on the right-hand embankment of that hole, because we've got to get the water to come down and go towards the drain inlet.
That's
Once we
quite
get
a
that,
feat.
once we
That's
get,
quite
well,
a-
for the most part, it goes that way now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when they designed that hole, they designed that whole pitches all to the left.
Right.
So the water starts at the cart path, comes through the rough, across the fairway, down the embankment into that
Into
bunker.
that
And
large bunker.
that's why you have so many problems with it washing out. And it's just, in order to put, that bunker, if you wanted to put sand back in that bunker, you'd probably take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 tractor trailer loads to get sufficient sand in there, to a 3 to 4 inch depth to have it play like a normal bunker. It's really, it's huge. And then that way we figured, okay, well, where's the primary shot value? It's protecting that green up there, so you can see that green. And then this other area down here is still a hazard. It's just a native area as opposed to not
Just
being.
quick question. So coming off the left side of that green, where the bunker is,
Yeah.
we're gonna, feet-wise, what are we talking? or yards?
You're talking about the same distance that it is now. If you look, there's going to be depending on, you know, what folks look at, you look at it, there it says where it says flash sand. You can see when you see these types of drawings, detail, when you have the lines going up like this.
Right, yeah.
See the note? That's flash sand. So you have flash sand face.
Right.
And it's going to be approximately where the bunker is now. We might pull it out and turn it a little bit so it provides more of an opportunity to catch a ball, but also, you know, a lot of times what bunkers are supposed to do are supposed to frame greens. And they're supposed to make you think about, well, do I really want to go over there from this distance, or do I want to play it safe and be on this other side? Or
All right, so quickly. So I'm looking at the bunker, right, and the side that's near the part that's near the green,
Yeah.
which isn't a lot. It's a small, you know, a section. Is that going to come into the green, into the front of the green more?
no, it's not going to come into the approach of fairway. It's still going to stay at the bottom. Fairway comes across, then
Right,
you have an
okay.
embankment, then you have the
All
flat
right.
area. So it's going to stay within that footprint, but
Okay.
it might, you know, it may be
Reshaped.
moved or
Okay.
shaped.
All right.
The final actual shaping of the bunkers, almost anywhere, doesn't come until you're actually in there doing it, because then you can get a physical look at it and say, you know, now, you know, stand back in the tee. So now we want this one turned this way a little bit. And when you have the shaper right there, he says, okay, do. Then he's done. Look at it. Say, okay, that's where we want it to be.
Okay.
So that kind of thing happens, you know, in the end of the final shape. That's why these are detailed conceptual plans.
All right.
Steve, may I just to interrupt, you had mentioned that most shapers for the bunkers are busy now. And so-
Right, I mean, I assume that because in talking to people at the end of last year, October, November, I'm going to assume that quite a few of them are busy. What you're going to need, what they're going, you know, they can't really just come out to me and tell me, yeah, I don't have time to do that. What they need is they need something like this, and they need bid documents and specifications. That gets put out, as Dave said, an RFP, request for proposals, and they look at the project and they say, okay, I can do this. And in the in the request for proposals, you could say you could break it up where they might respond back to you saying, okay, well, I have availability time, I can do this much now, but I don't have time to fit into that. The question that I raise is that if you definitely want to try to get something done in 2024, then you're going to have to get these plans out, the RFP out, bid doc specifications, so they can look at it and say, okay, yeah, I got time the end of October, I can knock this whole thing out. Or, you know, beginning of November, or so on. Because now they have what, you know, and I'm sure all this wet weather's pushed some of these guys back right now. Because you just can't work in mud. You know.
Well, I mean, that's.
So the
big deal
important
that we
thing
get it
is
done in
to-
October and
yeah.
November. We live with it this long, so.
Well, the important thing, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The important thing is to look at these now.
So I don't think.
Get the idea in hand.
3 is a priority.
No.
What's that?
I said, we've been living with 3 for a long time.
Yeah, but three is a disaster. I mean, there's nothing I can do with it. I mean, it's full of rocks. I mean, it's just a mess, and it detracts substantially from that hole. I mean, really, it does. I mean, it's
No, it
you know,
doesn't.
it drains into
No,
it.
it doesn't. And
And it's a mess. I mean, you ask anybody who plays here, they put a golf ball in there, they don't want to hit it out of there.
Well, we have other options, so I mean,
we got 4 options. The question is there something with one of those we can move forward with bid specifications or whatever, and get in line for sometime in the fall? That's what brought all of this.
So you're talking about one bunker.
I don't know, what is it $20,000?
Well, you're not going to know that until you have bid documents, specifications. They
So
can go off of what you're asking them. I mean, you're like asking them, so, okay, well, you know, I want to buy a car, but I don't know what the
so I guess we would have to pick which
So what
ones.
do we need to do?
Well, what you need, like I said, what you need to do, if you say, what you should do is, I would put together your bid documents and specification package to cover all three of them. And in the request for proposals, you want to break them out individually. And then when they break them out, yeah, there's four of them. Did I say three? Okay, four. I'm looking at the number. I'm looking at the number three. So when you get the bids in, when you structure your bid documents and specifications to give them, tell them that you want an individual, a price per individual
Per one.
whole
Yeah.
or project, or per aspect of the project, then an entire price at the end. Because what may happen in some circumstances is the cumulative number in the end might be cheaper than breaking them out. Because for a guy to take his entire crew, move up here, do one bunker and go,
Right.
I ain't gonna be too many guys are gonna be, just to mobilize equipment and stuff. Whereas if he knows, okay, I'm going to be there for a week and a half, 2 weeks, depending on timing and how much work I'm gonna do, that gives them a better opportunity to give you a more realistic price. I don't know, there's very few guys out there now, they're just going to do one, just do one bunker on one hole. I'm sure you get somebody, but if you write it up, so you want an individual price per hole, and then you want a price for the entire project. Then that way you can say, okay, well, you know what? Now that we've seen this, now that we have some idea, okay, well, we're going to consider that this one isn't that important, or this one can wait compared to the other ones,
So
and so on. But I really,
if we're going to do that, you have to do it in the order of your own priority, because you can't pick, like, say, 1 and 3. I don't mean holes 1 and 3.
well, I don't know. I'm not. Outside of the municipal sector, you can do that kind of thing. So I'm not familiar with.
What can't you do?
You can't just
want to
pick
do it
and
the way
choose.
Steve is saying it. You
Yeah.
need to do it in order of priority.
Gotcha.
So you're gonna say, I'd like to do. You either do it in ascending or descending order, right?
Yeah.
You say, I'm gonna do all 4, but no, if I think I can only afford 3, you have to pick which one drops off right in the beginning before you even tell them.
Okay, so
Because
you
the law
say,
won't let you look at their bids and then pick and choose, because then
Yeah.
there've been lawsuits from other vendors that are saying,
Yeah.
oh, I really didn't, I thought you wanted the whole thing, so I just threw it down some other numbers on the other 3 holes. So if you're not
So
gonna do all
prioritize
4,
the ones that you have now.
to do it in order.
Yeah.
So if you don't do all 4, even the bidders know which one's gonna drop off.
Right,
So you can't take a bunker out by the price.
right. They
Right,
can't
say,
take
we're not gonna
advantage
do
of
this
you,
one
and you
'cause
can't
it's
take
too
advantage of them.
Right.
Right.
Or you can say,
Yeah.
here's a price for 3, 6, 7, and here's a price to do everything. And then,
Right.
let's just say we thought 3 was the least priority.
Yeah.
And you'd say, how much gets knocked off if we don't do 3?
Okay.
How much gets knocked off if we don't do 3 and 6?
Six.
Whatever order you want to
Yeah,
put it in.
okay.
Okay.
But you have to stick with that order, so the
Okay.
bidders know the order as well. So that way they don't get, you say, oh, I don't want to do this one.
Yeah, I understand.
They just happen to
what you're saying,
throw
yeah.
most costs on 3 because they thought, oh, I'm just going to list it in order
Right.
numerically, and not really, you know what I mean, on their
Yeah,
mind,
yeah,
break it
yeah.
out by whole, because they think they're doing the whole thing. Then you say, oh, I'm gonna save 50 grand by not doing whole 3, and they're like, no, that's not 50 grand worth of work, so I'm not taking 50 grand off my price. That's why
Right.
you just need to let them know up front.
Yeah, that
if we
makes
were
sense.
potentially doing it that way.
So do we have an estimate of what bid specifications will cost us?
Yeah, I can, I believe,
I thought Tim had
I've got that,
I thought Tim had that in that proposal.
He provided that in the proposal initially, I believe. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know what his rates are right off the top of my head. I can go back and look. I mean,
I
that
have the
was,
email you sent, but yeah, Tim had the pricing in one of those
Well,
emails.
we paid for the sketches for $1,500.
well, the bill that you received was for the site visit and the preliminary, and the conceptual and detailed plans. And, oh, excuse me, and the third thing was the review of Mr. Muddy's
Is it possible
report.
that we can get some of those Xerox them and give us some pictures of them?
Give you some what?
Pictures, those, but I don't have them.
Pictures? I sent these to everybody.
I didn't, somehow
I
or
sent
other, I
it to
didn't get
you.
them in my
I
phone.
sent it to you.
I got it in my
I
email.
couldn't find them.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you, I mean, I've got them on my computer. I can give you these if you want them.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'd
because I can, yeah. I mean, actually, I can give them to you now because they're in there, so I can look off the computer if you want to look off of these. So, I mean, if you're going to, you know, if you look at you look at each particular bunker, basically what we're doing is redesigning the bunkers so they're more playable, so they present the golf hole better. And let me see if I can find, and they don't significantly change, you know, your course rating, your course difficulty, and so on. So let me see. I don't think, oh, you have.
Yeah, you can look at it.
So, I mean, if I was to look at them, and you wanted to put some type of order on them, my order of priority would be 10 first, then 7, 6, and then 3 is the least in the list. And the reason I say, the one thing I want to point out about number 10, which I really kind of like, is that if you look at the picture in 10,
Yep.
we're redoing this bunker, redoing that bunker, but what we're proposing to do is grab the approach height turf, and bring the approach height all the way up and around by the bunker on the top. So you're going to have fairway / approach height turf all in here. You're going to have the bunker with a collar all the way around it, you know, a collar of rough. But you're going to have additional approach all the way in here, additional short grass. So if you happen to be somewhat wide of that green and you pop the ball here, you're going to be playing off fairway turf, but you're also going to be looking at either going across that bunker or having to deal with the side of that bunker. I think it adds to the hole, and I think people would really like that as a, you know, as a change down there. You can see where that is, the approach would come approximately 10 feet off the cart path berm. So you'd have the cart path berm, then you'd have 10 feet of rough, then you'd have the approach height. We connect it into the fairway, shape it up, and basically what that would entail would be stripping the existing sod that's there, you know, running a York rake or a rock hound over top of it to smooth it out, to give us the opportunity to put in, you know, an adequate, 3 to 4 inches of good topsoil and loam, so we can seed or sod right on top of that. The reason I chose number 7 as second is because now that the cart path work is taking place on number 7, the tree roots have grown. The tree roots that have grown significantly into that bunker, and you know, in the edge of it. And they said, okay, well, we've got the cart path there now. We're going to have a berm there now. Now's the time to correct that bunker because we have to do something about those tree roots. It's just unplayable.
Yeah, there's no grass, right?
There's nothing there
it's
because
just a web of roots that are a half
small
inch to an
pine
inch.
trees, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Huh?
Small pine trees, right?
Well, they're large
No,
pine trees.
large
They're
now.
not
They
there.
were large
They
pine
were
trees.
pine
Now
trees.
it's just roots, live
But
roots.
that's the problem. I mean, when Dan came in to prepare to put that cart path in,
Right.
we pulled out the stumps, and you know, and we looked at it, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't want to hold your work up any, so go as far as we need to go to accommodate the cart path. I mean, yeah, he could have reached back there with the excavator and pulled the rest of those roots out, and you would have had a big muddy hole, worse than what you already have. So that's why, you know, that's the second. And, you know, the number 6, I think number 6, as far as playing the golf hole, is more important to the golf hole and the 6th hole
This is the
than
cart path.
3 is to 3.
The 8, right, the new one. And then
Yeah, 6, the right-hand
this is the
one.
bunker.
Huh?
Right hand one on 6.
Yeah, that's the right-hand bunker on
This is the
6. We
base.
raised the floor up so it doesn't
gonna
hold
be
water
eliminated.
as much.
Yeah.
Reshape the outside, you still have the
When the
difficulty of
laminate
shot, you still have somewhat of
And
a
what about
flash
this here?
sand face.
Right.
We soften that
And
face
that's
somewhat,
great.
so we can get a machine on, I can't get a machine on it now, that's
It's
one of the
too
problems
steep,
with it.
Yeah,
Right.
that thing
Oh,
like
yeah.
this.
Yeah, it goes, yeah.
So you raise it up, push it around a little bit, soften that
Okay,
slope,
yeah.
makes it easier to come up, you know,
So
makes
this
it
is the
easier
slope that
to maintain. It doesn't make it
This
any
is the
easier with
wood
golf shot,
No.
because you still have to get
This
up
is the wood.
over a possibly, you know, probably a 3.5 to 4 foot rise anyway.
Right, yeah.
And if you just pop it up, you're fine. If you put too much, you're gonna be over on the other side of the bunker, or green in the rough, or in the other bunker anyway. And the other thing about that bunker is if you go back to the tee and look, you can't see the sand.
No.
And that sand you should be able to see, so it defines the hole and it defines the shot more. Psychologically, you want to see that sand, because psychologically the golfer's going to think, oh, I don't want to go right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, 75 to 80% of golfers go right anyway because they can't control it. So they're actually going to try to, you know, they're going to try to stay away from it. Right now, you can't see the sand. I mean, it's just, it's in a hole, and it's so low that it doesn't drain. I don't think they even put a drain in it when they constructed it. So we have a drain in there now, so it doesn't hold any water, and, you know, so it doesn't have, you know, so you don't have rock solid sand because it gets wet and it compacts.
So what's the cost of the next step?
The next step is to take these, and as you know, and we come up with specification. You know, we come up with bid documents and specifications, and then, you know, we have the you know, you send it out and a request for proposals and see what you get back. And, you know, there'll be and when you know, when we write the bid documents and specifications, obviously they're going to be written to explain to the people who are bidding that you need to have golf course experience, you need to have references, you need to have done similar work, so on and so forth. That all comes in the package, just like you would if you were going to do the clubhouse or anything else. So you get qualified bidders, and then you go from that qualified bid returns that you get, and then see what your prices are, and organize it as David mentioned, so you can say, okay, number 10 or whatever you guys feel is appropriate. You know, my 50 cents is 10, 7, 6, and 3. And then if you want to say, okay, well, you know what, we can't afford that now, so let's do 10, 7, 6, or let's do 10, 7, or, you know, I can't really put a price on it now because, I mean, God knows what prices are. I mean, everything's through the roof.
Crazy.
Everybody's tacking on a diesel fuel surcharge, this, that, and the other thing. Until you get those bid, you know, those documents, bids back, you're not gonna
So what's the cost
know.
of the bid specs?
Excuse me?
What was,
Like I said, I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to go back in, but I'm pretty sure that we got a,
it was included?
excuse me?
It was included
What do you mean it was included?
in the original price put forward?
Well, if you remember, you're talking about one price package you got a while ago that addressed what you're trying to do on 15. It included some, I mean, bid documents and specifications are bid document and specifications. They change based on what you're trying to accomplish as far as tee construction, green construction, or what have you. The last, I don't have, let me see, I don't have, see, that was in an email to me, so I don't think, and I don't have access here, so I can't look back and read it off. I mean, I can get that to you tomorrow, but I just don't know it off the top of my head right now. I mean, I'm guessing bid documents and specifications are somewhere between $2,000–3,000. It all depends on the significance and the amount of time. And a lot of bid documents, that's too, let me see if that, let me see, this might have, oh, so, all right, so right now, I mean, you're probably, I misspoke somewhat. I mean, if you're looking at, you know, construction documents, you're probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000, give or take. Maybe a little bit more, 4,500. I mean, I'm looking at,
Total?
an old proposal from, when was this? That was, yeah, scope of services, yeah, so this was back, yeah. Construction, yeah, so that's what I'm going to say right now without actually going in. I mean, I can call him tomorrow and find out for sure, but that's what, this was back in September of 2023.
So it's probably gone up a little bit,
Within
but not
6
too
months.
bad.
I don't know if it's gone up that much, if at all, because I don't think, I don't know. I mean, people always change their professional services. I mean, I went to, I go to the Capitol Grill, 6 months ago and buy a steak, and I go there today and buy it, and it ain't the same price as it was 6 months ago.
It's
But I
cheaper.
don't know what that's gonna be. Huh?
Oh, really? Let me go where you go.
So the next step here is to decide, okay, well, now we have some idea of what is capable of being done, and now we want to find out how much it's going to cost us to get it done. Because you need to have bunkers renovated at some point. I don't really think you can put it off significantly longer, because to be quite honest with you, after doing the searches that I've done and trying to acquire staffing, I've got two spectrums of staffing, 16-year-olds and 65 and above. There was nothing in the middle. Nothing from Facebook, nothing from, what else did we do? Nothing from the big flashing
blinking
job
sign.
boards, nothing from LinkedIn, and I've got 3 capable, 60 and abovers who aren't going to be doing bunker construction, because that's obvious. And then the 16-year-olds are here from June to August, and you're not going to be wanting to do work like that in the middle of the summer when people are trying to play golf. That's the other thing that shapes that timing aspect that you were talking about, because like Dane had mentioned earlier, we've got a good solid base of clientele, and I don't want to be the guy who pisses them off by saying, okay, June 1st we're going to start tearing up the golf course, which doesn't make any sense in the beginning of the season. So this is something we try to get arranged to do at the end of the year. And again, I mean, it's not my golf course, it's your golf course. You have to make, if it was up to me, I would have done it a long time ago. But, bunkers only last 10, 15 years, 16 years at the most. Most of the architects will tell you that. We're verging on the other end of that. And unfortunately for us, because we're a municipality, some things cost us a little bit more. You have to pay prevailing wage. On the other hand, you don't pay sales tax and taxes on other materials. But it's a balancing act. I mean, you've been, you know what you have to go through to get something done.
So I think, so probably the immediate next step is, just so we all know, so if you can just have Tim confirm what his fee to draw off the business specifications for this, and then we can worry about, tweaking it to, put it in priority order or whatever before it goes out for any pricing. And that way we just know what we're getting involved with.
Yeah. Is the bid spec, I'm confused, is 4,000?
That's that was in the last, what I read off of was a quote for architectural services, and that quote said construction documents. So I'm assuming that's bid and specs. I don't want to speak out of turn and not, because, excuse me?
Per hole?
No, that's for the whole package. That's not for the whole. That's not for
So
the
you're
whole.
talking 5 or 6,000?
Yeah, that's for the documents for the project, because the bid documents and specifications
Right.
are going to address, your design characteristics, the sand, the type of sand you're going to use, the method through topsoil, shaping. It's going to address all that stuff. But it doesn't, it's not per hole, because it's going to tell you, okay, this is the way that we expect to have the bunker built. Okay, we have this number of bunkers of this size, and then they're going to come back with you and say, okay, under the conditions that you gave us, material-wise and so on, this is what we say it would cost us to do your work.
This Monday.
Make a motion, to go forward with the bid specs.
Up to $6,000?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion. Up to 6,000.
Second it?
Second?
What, yeah, either way, I made it, you seconded one.
Okay.
Yes.
all right.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Price of sand is, all that stuff is going to skyrocket.
Everything is.
Everything, cement, sand.
Everything's
You
expensive.
find it.
Crazy.
And I don't know who's trying to fool you and tell you the economy's doing all that great. None of us.
You just put water. It's only cement.
Maintenance Mondays.
If you look on the handout that I provided to you, you go down about a third or to halfway down the page,
This is.
and you'll see routine maintenance. Under routine maintenance, there is a tentative maintenance Monday schedule, initiating on the 27th of May and concluding around the 21st of October with the proposed dates in between. Now, I put this together based on activities and what have you. Wasn't privy to the golf schedule, so obviously if we have outings scheduled on those particular days, those date selections wouldn't apply.
Well, May 27th is Memorial Day. I don't think.
No, you caught me on that last year. I keep on forgetting
And
that. So
I'll get you-
obviously we're going to June, so you can
I'll
scratch
put
May
you on this one.
27th.
July
off there.
1st is the biggest people vacation week going. It's 4th of July week, so if you can push that one somewhere else.
Well, I mean, if you look at the calendar, what I try to do is spread them out to have two in the particular months of least time and more people available to get other things done. So, I mean, if you look at May, obviously May 13th and 14th is the greens aeration, so we're not going to go before that or immediately after that. That'd be kind of silly. So we take the 27th off, so we're skipping May, so we just draw a line through May. And if we go, so we got June, July, June was the 13th and the 3rd and the 17th. Try to put them 2 weeks apart. So July, my only suggestion for that would be to just scratch out the 1st and go 15/29. Because if you're concerned about the 4th of July week,
Well,
then
I just think that's
That's a good point. That's a-
popular.
I mean, it's a good point. Again, I forget those kind of things because I've never taken the 4th of
You
July
know,
week
Some
off.
means
that's right, you don't know what a
nothing else.
vacation or a day off is?
35 years.
Oh.
So 4th of July is just
You'll
another
discover
day
it when
to
you're
have a beer
65.
on Saturday night
Someday me and
because I get
Steve will
Sunday
go
morning
golfing
off.
someday.
When you're 65, all those dates will come in play.
No, my daughter reminds me of that all
Oh,
the
does
time.
she? Oh,
She
good
said,
for
I
her.
hope you can still do things when you're 65 and
Yeah.
70 because you're wasting, well, I won't say that. You're spending all your time working, is what she said.
All right, so we're good with those dates, the rest, right?
The reason I pinpointed August 19th, because August 19th is the day of deep tine and it'll come to me again, dry jecting.
No, it's just September
Monday,
9th, is that,
19th of August.
Labor Day? No.
Closed all day?
Oh, is it
Or
early?
weeks, yeah.
Okay.
I would say closed all day. There's a possibility, the deep tine will be done. If we can get, I'll know more about that when I get long-range weather forecasts as we get closer, because we might be able to send the leagues off the front side at a minimum. Because what we're doing is we're deep tining, or dry ejecting behind a deep tine, and then we're going to top dress and brush. So if it's a relatively decent day, the sun's out, the deep tine, or the sand from the dry eject dries, we'll put the power brush to it, and then we'll
Right.
change cups and we'll be ready to go. So those are the tentative or proposed maintenance Monday dates with the
Fine.
changes.
Motion
So made
to
here.
approve schedule
Bobby, your turn.
as presented.
Motion to approve.
Well, I want to check,
Well, I
I
want
wanna-
to
I
make
want to
sure.
check the outing schedule
Make
first.
sure.
Tentatively, we can
Yeah,
approve it.
Subject to
Yeah.
the outing schedule.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll approve the overall idea of it. All in favor?
Aye.
Operations, now we're jumping over to Dana here. Operations.
So. So just for everyone's information, our projected sales for April is 156. And obviously, next meeting, I'll have an update to where we stand. Discussed our rates. Point of sale golf now, new G1 is installed, and as of last year, the discussion was that this was a system upgrade, and I was figuring, they'd make a few changes, but it ended up being an all-in-out new program, 100%. So there's a new interface, new reports. The whole program is totally different, so we've been training and building and working on it. So it's a work in progress currently. And I'll keep everybody posted as we move forward with it. I'm speaking with the town accountant and the treasurer with regards to reporting and whatnot. It is the other system being, I guess, Excel-based as opposed to cloud-based was an immediate, because it's on our computer, it was an immediate transaction. Everything was very fast. We are well tuned in it. I could bill out 120 guys in 15 minutes for the leagues. This system, there's a little bit more going on. You have a front system and a back system. You have a reporting part of the system. So there's a lot of ins and outs to it that we're working through. Supposedly it allows a lot more flexibility when it comes to certain things with regards to pricing, dynamic pricing, reporting, and whatnot. What we're trying to do, and what they said this product could do, was basically duplicate our previous product. So that's where I'm looking to get us, and we're massaging that along the way. So I'll keep everybody posted as this progresses. So moving forward from here, we've pretty much built out the season. I put out the leagues. I put in aeration dates, outings. Everything's built out pretty much through September. And as we get more outings, we'll put those onto the sheet and build out from there. But the way it's running is every 7 days, today's tee sheet goes live. Tomorrow, next Wednesday, next Friday sheet goes live, and it's running perpetually. So that aspect of it is efficient and running smoothly. The outings, June and September, are pretty much sold out for the weekends. And we're trying to be mindful of the cut days, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're trying to create enough space so Steve can get his stuff done with regards to us still hosting events. July and August are relatively open, so when I have outings requesting for a weekday in the months that are sold out, I'm trying to take one or two and trying to spread them out to maybe, sparse them out a little bit into August, maybe a little bit. I'm trying to stay out of October because we don't have any staff in October because everybody goes back to school. So I'm trying to push them back into the summer, basically, and get them playing. So far, we haven't had any complaints, and the schedule's jammed. With regards to equipment, we got a ball machine received. I have some invoices for Ed here. That is included in there. The chairs, we've got new chairs in the shed. The tent was just put up today, so that's not actually even listed on this. With that, I'm gonna have the kids build out all the tables and chairs and get the outside area set up. Cots are up and running, looking good. Ice machines are repaired, mine as well as Steve's. Plumbing, we had a few issues again this winter, so those pipes have been repaired. I do have an additional two. I replaced the broken refrigerators last year. I have two more refrigerators that went down over the winter, so I'll be in process of researching getting those replaced or repaired, and I'll keep everybody posted as that occurs as well. And then grill replacement we're in need of. We have a quote from Northeast. They range from $4,000 without a cover hood to $13,000. We're going to get a few more quotes and check some other vendors locally and see what we can do. I was bouncing some ideas off John earlier, and you were stating that probably a flat top grill is probably not a good way for us to go.
No.
Just just through us being an outdoor operation, it's not conducive to that, so just to stick with a, you know,
I
the
do.
standard commercial grill that we usually use.
I
with the
sat
grill.
down with Steve today for a little while, and there is a few, there's that site I told you guys to check out, Web Restaurant. They deliver, I found out, and they all set up. The only thing I suggest, if we do go through someone like that, that you get those side shields for
Mhm.
wind.
Okay, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've had that over the years.
I've been out there and the wind's coming, the thing's
The
gone
wind,
out.
yeah, coming down 18, 1 and 18 is like wind alley, so it runs up there, and sometimes it knocks out the grill.
So the ones we looked at were from what, 3 to 5,000?
3 to 5,000, yeah,
Yeah.
in that neighborhood. And
5
I don't-
footers.
Now, did we, I believe there was a limit put on the last time it was approved, which we
Oh, I
may
don't
not,
know.
we may have to adjust.
Was it?
Because
don't
when I mean, way back when I was talking about the hot water pressure washer, then the hot
That's
water
right.
pressure water went out the door, but we ended up with the grill. But I don't know if there was a price put on the grill. After John and I
don't
looked,
think there was.
yeah, there wasn't, okay.
Well, I think, yeah.
But like John said, it's gonna be between 3 and 5, just to get comparable to what we had before.
5 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is 60-inch.
And you need the domes.
tops.
I tried to get into, I was telling these guys to get something that has like a powder coating on it, so you don't get that stainless steel where eventually sucks in, you know, weather, rust and stuff like that, but you can't find them. You can find them for your home, but you can't find them in large quantity like that. As 5 footer, they don't do it.
Yeah.
To stick with what you got, there's a tool doors.
Yes.
And then there's options on a lot of these that you don't need, that they show you, so
Right.
you can cut those out.
Yeah, we just need a bare bones,
Yeah.
something that
You
you
don't
can
need
put
a shelf in
a
front.
dual tank or one a split
Yeah.
feed to a 100-pound tank and run it. I mean, it gets beat up. Let's face it.
Well-
We're grinding. We're putting as much business through it that we can. And again, it's an outdoor facility, so it's a cost of doing business. You gotta feed your customers. So that's pretty much where we're at. And I guess like John said, they're gonna be in between 3,000 and 5,000. Probably I would say more towards the $5,000 realm than 3,000. As you can tell by that sheet going around. So.
I do suggest that you do that. We get something by the end of this month, April, I mean,
Sooner the better.
right. So you got like 3 weeks, you know, in research and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, we'll get the research done. The one thing I'll bring up is that probably 95% of the vendors we're going to look at, we don't have an account with. So what we're going to have to do is either try to establish an account where they have commercial, I'm assuming they have commercial accounts.
I'm sure.
Because what we need to have done is we need to be invoiced. We can't,
Right.
we can't go out
Not
and
going
just
on
pick
credit
something
Well,
up.
I'm sure, but you call these companies, web restaurants are huge.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't have any problem with it. I'm just saying we have to set that
Yeah.
up. You have to get the W-9 before you can pay the bill
Right.
and all that good stuff. So.
That Northeast was great because they would just take the order and because is that the one we had an account with?
Well, we have an account with Massachusetts Restaurant Supply,
That's-
but
that's
Mass
the one.
Restaurant Supply doesn't sell the units. They
Right.
sell the parts.
Arts.
So that's why we have to go. And I believe the last grill we bought directly from this Magic King is what it's called. I believe that was bought directly from them.
From North.
So, yeah, unless you want, well, no, it was bought from that company who makes them.
Right.
So if you want to, obviously if you want to buy something like that, you're looking at the price on that sheet because that was the quoted price for this. I mean, I saw that price quoted twice online and I got it quoted twice by people that I contacted.
That's a 13K one.
Yeah, that's that's,
Crazy.
yeah. it was ridiculous
And that's
money.
so that
And they
and that's the
don't
grill we
last.
had.
What
Yeah,
do they
with
are
2 tanks
asking for,
underneath, that's
15?
So and we bought it last time. What was
They
it?
asking
4,000.
4 or 6.
How many thousands? Like, well, which one? 3 to 5?
The 15, 3 to 5?
Yeah.
That's not that bad.
No.
No.
I mean, there was cheaper ones, but they were cheaper.
Yeah, they were cheaper. They didn't. One thing I noticed with some of the cheaper ones is the
The structure that
support
holds them,
structure didn't look to be all that
No.
great.
Looks like it's made freaking PVC or something. They just,
Yeah, it didn't look that good.
yeah, the legs look
The legs
very
were-
wobbly.
I mean, I think they were like 3/4 inch, tubular iron or something. They weren't even steel, I don't think, so.
And you know what else, Manny? They don't sell them anymore with, I don't know if you can find them, with cast iron grates anymore. It's all stainless or
Steel, yeah.
steel, no more. I don't know what, more expensive probably. I don't know.
No, all of the stainless steel, the cast iron is takes more. They get them out of the market because they kind of wear out.
Yeah, yeah,
The stainless
Yeah.
don't, but if they go into a cheaper stainless,
yeah.
they fit too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just cleaned my little Weber in Florida, and it's
Oh, yeah, I got
and it's stainless steel.
stainless, right?
And I think that one is a 300 series,
Yeah, that's what
so
I
it
have.
holds pretty good.
Yeah,
But if you go into a 400 series,
you get it.
you get the carbon in there,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's cheaper.
Well, stainless.
And they buckle, too.
Yes, they do. I remember the old one that Dana used to give me to go to school, and they
Yeah.
had this sandblast.
That thing's a tank.
It got down to a point where there was the actual grill. It got so thin they would break.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't even make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. No. Well, look, we've been looking.
Yes.
I mean, you've been
Then we just have
looking.
Steve's maintenance update.
All right, a few things, most of which you probably already, you've heard somewhat on on the status report. Unfortunately, the colder temperatures and the saturated soils delayed us from being open in a couple circumstances. And we had to postpone till Monday the 8th. The one good thing is, though, overall, we did come out of the winter in good shape. Greens, tees, and fairway and rough wise. We do have some places that are, pockets of wet areas that just aren't going to go away until this rain stops and the sun comes out. And we're due for another almost an inch over tonight into tomorrow. The one problem that this has caused, which I'm sure some people are probably going to complain about, is we've had a significant number, an accumulation of worm castings. We've gone out and cleaned off worm castings 5 or 6 or 7 times, and it's just, you can't really clean them when they're wet. They have to dry a little bit, or all you do is smear them all over the place. And we've spent a lot of time on that, and we spent a significant amount of time just keeping greens, tees, and fairways clean, because of course every time we get a rainstorm, for some reason we get a 30 to 40 to 50 mile an hour wind with it, which is what's predicted for this one coming tomorrow and tomorrow morning, which means the pine trees are breaking and the leaves, no matter what you do with them, they're still blowing around. The oaks really haven't lost all their leaves from last year, so that's been a challenge. But other than that, I mean, we're very happy with the way we came out of the winter, and the condition of the greens, and it's early. They're not going to roll as nicely as you would want them to. We've got one person now. There are 2 people who can operate the roller, and that's Kevin and myself. We have to get somebody else trained on it, and I'm just not, with as wet as things have been, I'm not really interested in rolling right now until we get some drying in that surface soil. I don't want to start compaction issues and affect root growth for these next week or so. If I can get the roller out, I'll probably start maybe at the end of next week, depending on what we get for rain next Wednesday. But we should be, like I said, condition-wise, we're in good condition. And then once we get a little bit warmer weather, we'll start to fine-tune things down to where they should be for our golfers. Irrigation system, the pump station's up, it's online, and the system has been filled. We did have to replace the vacuum pump. What the vacuum pump is a little pump that draws air out of the lines and keeps the pumps primed. The previous vacuum pump just kind of wore out, and it wasn't able to keep up with keeping the pumps primed, so we replaced the vacuum pump. One thing that we did discover which I figured was going to happen. I just didn't think it was going to be this widespread. None of the ball valves, each green has an isolation point where you can close a valve to enable, to cut the water off to the green so you can work on it. Of the 19 greens that we have 3 ball valves that actually shut the water off completely. We have another 7 or 8 that you can't even move without breaking the handle. And this is all down underground. We do have isolation capabilities, but most of those now, which can get us through the season, but those are isolating a complete fairway or 2 to keep the water off the green, so if we would have to do a repair. Long and short of that is this fall we're going to have to replace those ball valves. And what I'm anticipating doing is replacing them with a somewhat more expensive gate valve. The problem with the ball valve is the way the ball valve sits, there's a point on the side of the ball valve which is your point of access for opening and closing. Because of the way in which these boxes were installed, they didn't install them properly. They put no stone base, so the ball valves are sitting in dirt. And of course they rust and the handles rust, and you can't open and close it without the handle breaking off, and the nut won't move. When the nut doesn't move, the valve doesn't open and close inside. So long and the short of it, you get a gate valve. The valve sits on top. We dig it out. We install the box the way it's supposed to be installed with 4 inches of stone on the bottom, so the valve sits on the stone, not on dirt. And then they'll last for another 10, 15 years anyway. But that's something we can do in the fall once we blow out the system, because of course there'd be no water in the lines. Can't really do it when there's water in the lines, because it's you have, like I said, you have to shut off 3 or 4 holes. You have to let the glue dry and all that good stuff. So staffing wise, I already mentioned we have 3 new equipment operators. We bought on board on the 25th of March. They're not experienced in golf course maintenance. They're decent people who are interested in learning, and we're in the training process now. So we're going to have a few scalps here and there. We're going to have a few tee blocks that might be a little bit crooked at times, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. I mean, John can attest to that. I'm sure he wasn't perfect when he first started working over at the reservation there. So
I can scalp.
Doing the best of it. So, for those people who are watching who don't understand what scalping means, that means cutting grass significantly shorter than it should be. We do have 6 part-time or summer staff folks in line and completing paperwork. These are high school age students. We didn't really have any response from any folks in college, but we do have, I believe out of the 6, I believe 4 or 5 of them are all Acushnet residents. Seem like very, but we had an employee orientation day just to give them some insight into what they'd be getting into when they finish the process. And one thing I noticed about these 6 particular kids who stuck out above the other ones is that they could sit there for 5 minutes without falling asleep, looking at their phone or slouching in their chairs. So right up, and they could speak intelligently, which was, at this point, we can teach them to do the rest. So, so that's in the works. I hope to be able to bring them on once all the paperwork is complete and up to snuff. We'll probably have them come in on a weekend day or 2 just to familiarize themselves with what it is that we actually do, what they'd be doing. I believe 4 of the 6 play golf, so they understand what a green tee and a fairway is, so which is good. But I believe they're also all athletes, whether they play golf or play baseball, so they have fairly good hand-eye coordination. So I'm looking forward to getting them trained and getting them in place and helping us out. Our spring schedule, as far as routine maintenance is concerned, our spring cutting schedule is in place. We're not cutting every day. Like I said, we're trying to get some people trained. We have cut greens 6 times already since the beginning of.
And they look good.
You know, they've come out good. Again, they're going to be a little bit bumpy. I was impressed at the hoof marks on the 6th and the 4th greens and 13th greens. You can still see them if you're looking for them, but they you know, after we popped them up, they did, you know, and you get a little bit of freeze and thaw in the winter. They did come out fairly well. So
Nice.
once we hit them with a top dressing and aeration, I don't think you're going to be able to notice that they were there.
Stop aerating the greens with the horses. That's
Yeah, they put shoes on the horses where they have spikes on them. We did, our greens aeration is scheduled for 13th and the 14th of May. What we're going to start doing as an alternate process is opposed to making a huge disruption, is to making a smaller disruption with a smaller time. And that should be, you know, again, with a staff that hasn't experienced aeration and what have you yet, I can't commit to the fact that it'll be a quicker process, but I think it will go smoother, and you know, we won't be able to tell until we do it first, but I hope to be able to finish everything in a single day. But again, that, you know, weather dependent. We have the core harvester in place, and we're going to go out there and once things dry a little bit, we're going to experiment with it and see, time the process on the putting green. We can extrapolate that to the size of the other greens and see how we're going to fit in time-wise. But looking forward to getting that done. As far as equipment is concerned, our winter service has been completed on all the equipment, and all the units are functioning well at this point, and we just need to get bodies trained on how to use them. I will, staffing-wise, did want to mention we have one individual who will tentatively return. He's had some health issues, so he hasn't been able to come on board right away, but we'll look forward to getting him back. So we're going to have to train someone temporarily to operate the piece of equipment that he operated. As far as our greens mowers are concerned, I'm a little bit frustrated because Toro now tells me that they're not going to be available till May. They keep on having difficulties in making up their quotas and catching up. But you know, in my angst, I checked with other people, and John Deere isn't having any better luck, and Jacobson don't even bother. So we're going to you know, keep on going the way we're going. We have you know, we had to spend a little bit more to keep machines going, but unfortunately that's what we have to do right now. The Walker is ready to go, and we just have to get them to deliver that, and I'm going to try to get them to deliver that here in a week or so I can get that out there and help greens mowing wise. One thing I did want to mention, Kevin and I had discussed this. If you look in the back page of your package, you're going to see this piece of equipment. This is called this particular one is a Turfware 460. What it is it is a small automated spreader sprayer. The reason we looked at this is because currently right now we do all our granular fertilization of tees themselves, tee embankments, green embankments, and so on by hand, which takes a minimum of 2 people. It takes a longer time, and those 2 people have always been Kevin and I. We had an additional person trained last year. Unfortunately, that person left. And right now, as it looks, it'll only be Kevin and I who are available to do that, and you know, until we get to the point where we could possibly maybe train you know, one of the younger kids who comes on board. So we said, what are our chances? What are our alternatives? What possibly could we do to help out? And we looked at different pieces of equipment like this. This was the best one on the market from what everybody I talked to said. Again, this is automated. This has a 200, I believe it's You could take 5 bags, 250-pound capacity in that hopper. What we would be doing with something like that is we have a trailer. We would put that particular machine on the trailer, load the back of the utility cart with enough fertility bags to do all the teas, and one person could, with that particular machine, could probably do all the teas in about 2.5 hours, as opposed to 2 of us doing it in 3. The other thing is that can do tea embankments and green embankments for fertility, and that would cut the time in that for that at least in half. So Kevin and I discussed it. We said, well, it would make a significant improvement to us. I'll propose it, see where we can go with it. That particular machine, as outfitted as you see right there, has a price tag of $14,800 delivered. And according to the sales rep who came to us and gave us a demo, you're probably a week and a half to 2 weeks out from getting something like that at the most. I spoke with our fertility distributors because I wanted to make sure that their products would go, the particular products that we purchased from them wouldn't have any issues on these machines. And each one of them said that they have several golf courses that use these machines now, and they've experienced absolutely no problems at all. So we'd like to consider that, so I put that out in front of the committee, see what the committee's feeling is on something like
It
that.
was a clubhouse for another year.
Well, it's not a clubhouse. I mean, it's, we're right now.
One more choice, Steve. Huh?
It saves
Well, it's again, it's not
a lot of time.
Huh?
Saves a lot.
It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of labor expense, and it allows us, it allows us to be more
Labor that
efficient.
you don't have.
And again, I mean, I look at this. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I've looked at, people have mentioned this to me years and years and years, and I said, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'd rather walk. Well, I don't walk quite as quick as I used to, and I can't get any. We just don't. Nobody seems to be interested in doing this type of work at that age anymore. So, I mean, I can keep on doing it, but it takes your superintendent and your assistant superintendent away from the rest of the golf course and the rest of the operation for a minimum of 3 to 4 hours. Plus the other thing about this, which is,
Can you put a kid on it to walk behind it, or?
well, yeah, well, you ride it. You actually stand on it. You can. I mean, one of the selling points of this, and what other superintendents have told me is, you can put Joe whoever on it, and if you set it up right, you calibrate it right, you set the speed right, they basically can't screw up, is what they've said. So I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to take that verbatim. I'm going to train somebody instead of just picking somebody up and putting on the machine. So, but yeah, and like I said, it's a solid built machine. It pivots in the center like a skidder, so it doesn't have a significant tipping problem with making quick turns. You set the speed, you set the calibration, you set the gauge, you lock it in place, and the operator just has to go forward, make a turn, and come back.
What's
and have
the
it
usage
overlap
on
properly.
this?
Excuse me?
How often will you use this?
Probably 2, possibly 3 times a month, depending on the time of year. Earlier in the year, when we're putting out our one and done products, crabgrass preventative, grub preventative is going to be used more around green and tea embankments. Teas we fertilize once a month. The other thing that it does assist with is when you fertilize the teas, obviously any fertility product you put out, you're going to want to water in.
So we get you this, you train someone.
Yeah, listen, you're not getting it from me.
No,
You're
okay,
getting it from
Not
you.
only that, you
Let
give
me
Steve
do
your
it.
address,
Let
we're
me-
gonna do demos.
If we do this for the course,
Yeah, there you go.
this will relieve you and Kevin for a lot of hours.
It will relieve us, either initially one of us can do it as opposed to 2, and then hopefully with a little bit of training, neither one of us would have to be occupied with it, and we can be doing other things that fall
So the
more
only
within
thing
our
you have to do
responsibilities.
is put out all the fertilizer on each tee box that you need for that kid or whoever. They can pick it up and dump it in there and do it.
Yeah, well, it would be in the back of the utility cart, because
So you would
the
say-
only drawback to this is these were created primarily for lawn care guys. So you're doing a home lawn. When we fertilize teas, depending on the nitrogen rate we're putting out, we're using anywhere from 12 to 25 bags.
Right.
So even in the back of a utility vehicle, you know, they're 50-pound bags. You put 10, 50, you have 500 pounds in the back of that thing. And that's about all you're going to want to put into it, you know, functionally wise, that's all you say you're supposed to put into it. But that one person can take that and they can go, you say you're putting out 5 pounds per thousand, you have 500 pounds in the back of your cart, you know, 5 pounds per thousand, you can do 50,000 square feet, which is, you know, almost more than half your feet.
Will that tow a cart?
No, you put it on, it's designed to operate by itself, but what we do is we have a trailer, and the cart pulls the trailer. That way, if the person, you know, starts on the first hole, he gets to the fifth hole, he could fill up that hopper, but he would only get the tees done on the fourth hole. So he'd have to drive all the way back, fill it up, and drive all the way out. This way, we put it on the trailer, put all the fertility products, 10, 15 bags in the back of the utility vehicle, then he just backs off the trailer, does the tee, pulls on, goes to the next hole. He can do, you know, the front side tees 1, 11 through 18.
So we can tow a trailer with that?
No, well, we tow a trailer with the utility vehicle and put this in on the trailer.
So you would set that person up for, like, let's say the first tee box. You would set him up and say, all right, you've got 100 pounds of fertilizer here. Then what? He'll spread that 100. Then he goes to tee number, six.
Well, basically, what he's going to do, we set up the machine. Well, use the first tee, an example. First tee, all the tees on the first hole amount to 11,000 square feet. So if the product that you're putting out is 5 pounds per thousand, you're putting out 55 pounds of product over that 11,000 square feet.
Okay.
So that's basically one bag of fertilizer, give or take a little bit.
And you would relay that to that person?
So, yeah, well, no, you don't even have to relay that to him. You set the...
Oh, you set it?
You set the gauge on the bottom based on what your calibration has for, you know, this machine runs at 3.5 miles per hour.
Okay.
So 3.5 miles per hour, you know, there's a way in which you calculate, I'm not going to go into because I don't want to bore you with the details, but you calibrate the machine. So at 3.5 miles an hour, this is how much this particular machine is going to put out at that calibration for that amount for 1,000 square feet.
Right.
When I say you set the machine up, you set the openings in the bottom of the machine. I don't know if you have a fertility spreader. You look in the bottom. There's customarily 3 holes.
Gates. Yeah.
Well, you set the lever on top to the opening width you want in a particular hole, and you lock it in place. So when he pushes that lever forward to open it, it only goes so far, and it opens it the exact same size every time. So you fill that hopper with 200 pounds of material.
Right.
And he goes, and he finishes that tee, turns the water on, goes to the next hole, finishes that tee, turns the water on, goes to the next hole.
So it's all calculated.
It's all calibrated. All you have to do is drive in a straight line. You turn around, and when you come back, you make sure that you have the proper overlap. Which with all spreaders is to the outside tire. So if I'm going towards Manny, I have the tire on the left-hand side here.
Right.
When I turn around and I spread back, I want the outside of my spread to hit where that tire track is.
Right.
If I don't, then I'm going to get some nice, I don't know if you run by, you get a yellow stripe here, a green stripe there. So, but that's part of the training process. So what we do is we take a portion of the rough out somewhere, and we put a cheap fertilizer in the bag, and we go measure it out and say, okay, go out there and fertilize that. Then we wait 2 to 3 days, and if he didn't make any stripes, then he can move on to fertilizing the driving range tee. Then if he doesn't stripe the driving range tee, then he can go on to the real tees. And you can, I'm like I said, I'm old-fashioned, so I'm still going to walk my greens.
Yeah.
But you can use this to do greens as well. A lot of guys do. Primarily in the bumper ends, early spring, late fall,
right?
Because they don't, some guys still walk spray their greens because they don't want the sprayer on. But, they have the luxury doing it. So we discussed it. I said I presented. The other nice thing about it is if you look on the back of the machine, those are spray tanks. Those tanks will carry 25 gallons apiece, and it has a spraying option on the front. So, for instance, if you were going around and you wanted to check green tee embankments, and you come across, like today, I was out in the 16th green on the embankment. There's a patch of clover about the size of this table. Well, there's no sense in me taking the 300-gallon sprayer and filling it up and going out and spot spraying all over the place when I can take this little thing, fill it up, extend the sprayer booms. Right, if you look right in the front, the spray booms are right here.
Oh, yeah.
And, you can go out and say, okay, go out and spot spray clover. So you go out there on the control, you set up the calibration for the sprayer. There's a little button there. You push the button down, you spray, take your finger off, stop spraying, go to the next spot. So you're doing small, and the other thing it allowed me to do is it'll allow me to finally get around the clubhouse and the pro shop and kill the clover there.
You win. I make a motion we purchase.
I'll second it, because I know what it takes to do all that.
See, John, no, again, I mean, you could come in.
Yeah, well, I know, because I got to do them by hand, so.
That was great.
You win.
Keep talking, Steve.
This is a new game with Steve, how many words it gets out.
Do you anything just to get out of the meeting?
Well,
Wow, look at that, you got a piece of equipment the same day you asked for it.
Let's make it official.
Not you,
All in
the
favor?
golf course
it's
got
not,
a piece.
yes, the golf is
Thank
not
you.
mine.
That's it for an exit.
All the time.
Other than that, I mean, we've already spoken about
Yeah.
the bunker renovations. I just wanted to update you on the cart path. While we were here at the meeting, I got a call from Dan. I didn't want to, be rude and take it, but right now, we're tentatively looking at next Tuesday is the day that he'd be coming in, looming, and doing some final grading and stuff. And once we get that done, and once he's happy with the base being firm enough so we can blacktop over top of it, then he's going to come in and blacktop. It's been we had some difficult issues down there. Dan has done an excellent job, built a great stone wall to the left of the 9th tee. We're going to have there's going to be hydroseeded next Tuesday, with a and to get that to take in, and then once we finish blending get the old cart path is out. We've cut the sod on a portion of the sod on the embankment on the 8th tee, so now he can take that and he can blend that loom down into there, and then at some point we'll make a decision about how we're going to whether we're going to seed or sod that. So that is given the weather is moving along as best it can. Green sprinklers have all been installed, and we're testing them now. We have 3 or 4 that leaked that we'll go back and have the installers come back, and they've got, as part of the deal, that they come back and take care of any leaks and stuff. Initially, I believe we spoke about $38,000 for that. We're probably going to come in at about $34,000. So we're able to save a little bit there. And part and parcel of that is because of the Toro program that we were able to take advantage of. You buy 4 sprinklers, you get 1 free. So we bought 60 sprinklers. We got 15 free at $4 a sprinkler head, or $400 a sprinkler head. That's a pretty good deal.
That's a significant savings.
The last time we had a meeting, I did mention the pond weed management. I wanted to bring these issues up so we didn't forget them. I'm not going to go into them on detail, but we do have a pond weed problem on the 14th or the 15th hole, and we do need to address it because it's starting to fill in that portion of the pond. And I spoke about the cost of doing the herbicide application, which is about $3,500, $3,600. This is something that would happen in September, and then 6 to 8 weeks after that is when you'd actually come in there with a hydro rake and pull those things out. It's not something that has, a decision has to be made on tomorrow, but it's something we need to keep on our plate. Same thing with the embankment issues on the 14th green and the 15th green. 14th green is getting to the point where I may have to pull the green cut in a little bit so I can still maintain the collar, because it's really sloughing off, and I'd rather pull the green edge in as opposed to losing an employee in the water, because the machine slides in the water and flips over, we have an issue. And it's getting to the point now where it's like this. You can barely cut it without it. So that's something, again, another item we have to keep on our plate and not forget. We had mainspring in one of our garage doors broke. We've had a quote. We had some D&L who originally put the doors in, came in and did a nice job. He knocked it right out, and I wasn't sure the extent of the quote, and I haven't gotten his final bill, but it'll be less than what I had anticipated it costing. Probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500. And what he replaced the springs. We had some fixtures that held the wheels in, that the door rise up, that were all bent. So he fixed those. The bottom of the door wasn't sealing right, so he put a new seal on it. He did a nice job, and that's been completed. We're waiting to complete the work on the entrance gate and the guardrail that we had approved a couple meetings back. Unfortunately, again, due to the weather, the installer, fell behind a little bit, so he's catching up, and hopefully within the next week, 2 weeks, we get him on and capable of doing that. We've already talked about the new grill. Another thing I want to mention is that at our last meeting, John happened to drop off a little pamphlet about clear span buildings. And I said, well, you know what, maybe I should look into that, because our maintenance building is becoming woefully insufficient to house the equipment, as well as a equipment repair area of what you're going to need to move forward down the road if you're going to continue to maintain a golf course. Long and the short of it is, I called the Clearspan people. They're out of Connecticut. I talked to their municipal, the person who's responsible for their municipal contracts and works. He's done 4 or 5 buildings in this area, and he also gave me some information on a national, it's kind of like the Mass State bid list, but it's nationwide. Town of Acushnet's on it. They already have an account on it. So just throwing out numbers, a 42-foot by 70-foot clear span building, completely installed, that calls for foundation of the building itself and so on. He said we're probably going to run you somewhere around $80,000. So I got that information from him. He said it could be more or less, depending on the installer and the price. And that would be something that I would recommend seriously looking into, because we just simply do not have the storage space. And in order to service the equipment that we have, I mean, John, you were walking in there today. In order to do anything, you have to move everything outside, and there isn't sufficient space. This would give us more space to store, and then could turn the heated portion of the building into the appropriate service area. But again, this is something, I mention these things because these are things that are eventually going to have to be addressed. Maybe not tomorrow, but we have to keep them in our thought process. Out front by the front gate, there is we have a lot of people who come walk. We have a rejuvenated pollinator garden. I spoke with the Boy Scout, one of the representatives for the Boy Scouts today. I believe it's the Acushnet Lions, who's discussing donating a building for them. A nice new building, not an old.
I don't believe they're going to donate a building for them.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Oh. They seem to think that that was
yeah, that's what they thought. But the Boy Scouts are supposed to do things on their own.
Yeah.
We can help them out, but they're supposed to, they don't look for donations to build something.
Okay.
The idea of Boy Scouts
has
to build a thing themselves to get it become an Eagle Scout and stuff like that.
Well, I didn't want to. Then I hope I didn't.
Well, I mean, I was at the meeting,
but.
and,
But the reason I bring it up is because we have a lot of people walk. We have people who come over there and are going to come by and look at the pollinator garden. And what they do is they just park on the side of the entrance road.
Right.
And it's just a muddy mess. So I'm thinking if we're going to be doing blacktop work, if we have a little bit of extra blacktop, maybe we could make like a 4-space parking spot up there that people can pull into, so their cars aren't on the road, but also so they're not making a muddy mess. I mean, we used to have buses turn around up there until we put ropes up and other stuff to stop the buses from turning around.
The Lions Club did say that we have a lot of guys that build housing and stuff like that we would go there and help the Boy Scouts build it, show them how to build it, and teach them how to use the different tools and stuff like that, instead of just donating.
Yeah, just that give
$4,000.
Hey, maybe I misunderstood what the
Yeah.
person was telling
Well,
us.
eventually, that's when he first came out with it, that's what he wanted,
Yeah.
he wanted this, for us to donate the money, but we said we showed the people how to do the build the stuff, and, so.
Another thing to consider, once we finish the cart path on 8 and 9, is we have a nice big opening there now, and we're going to put a gate up there.
Yeah,
We went,
You're gonna
well,
need that.
we're gonna need it. The other, I mean, we've been cruising right along, and we haven't, I mean, and our neighbor, back on the 8th hole has been very gracious. We haven't had any issues at all. And then Dan moved the excavator out of there so it wasn't blocking the way, and lo and behold, we open up and somebody drives a golf cart through the entrance and is driving on the road. So now we've got all the equipment parked at the end of the road, and we have big signs that say "keep out." So when we finish, to ensure their privacy and to and to ensure our course safety, we're going to put we want to put a gate up there. And the other thing that
Electrify it.
the other thing that is going to serve as is that is going to serve in the future as an emergency entrance for EMS and other people if for some reason we have a need for them on the 8th green or 9th tee, because there's no other way to get down there with an ambulance except through that particular area. So that's.
But the town owns that road, right?
Yes, the town owns the road's town property. And then, the other things I put here are just something, again, I'm not going to go through them all. There's things that we need to consider for future. You can see what they are. The equipment, physical plant, obviously clubhouse, pro shops first on that list. The parking lot and security fencing. The one thing I will mention is the current maintenance building roof leaks in 4 different spaces. So at some point, we're going to have to address that, so. There we go.
I would have hit the billion, I would have kicked back some money, but I didn't. That's
Seems like all in all, we made it through the winter, right, up and running, and things going well, so
Yeah.
it's good to
Yeah,
hear.
I gotta be honest, the customers are speaking well of the conditions, as early as it is, pricing, and the bodies are coming. If the weather can cooperate, we should be right back on track.
We had quite a few
Question,
good comments about.
Dana, on
the
your
work and stuff.
report there, that I didn't hear or you say or read it here that, did you hire anybody? You get any help?
I have a few applications, yeah. So I've got a couple of weekend rangers, which we don't routinely get, and then I have a few bag boy positions that kids are interested in.
What about help into the clubhouse?
In the pro shop, I have 2 employees coming back. I have 3 employees coming back that do pro shop help.
So they're gonna free you for some time, right?
Yes, sir. Just like last year, and when I have them, I'm free. When I don't have them, I'm not free. And with
Well,
kids,
that's why I
it's
mean,
temporary
I'm asking.
because
So we don't have legal bills, we don't have these
the
things
window
that
is,
have time to process,
as we
right?
discussed, when you have kids, they only hit August, and then they're gone back to school. So that's the nature of the beast.
What, I mean, can you hire anybody else other than kids to work in the pro shop?
Yeah, we can review that.
I mean,
Depends how much you want to spend.
well, we wanna run it,
Yeah.
and we want everything to have somebody to have a job. And Eddie needs
40
to
hours
get
a
the
week?
bills in time for the sign, so we're not late for bills. And, we've been saying that you should hire somebody for to do the
Right, and
register.
I had Dennis, and then I had Riley, I had Leah. Prior to that, before COVID, I had Brianna and Sarah. Then they took off, and I replaced them 2 with Dennis, Leah, and Riley.
And for now, they're gonna work this year?
Yeah. As soon as they get out of school, but that doesn't happen until
Yeah,
June.
that's the problem.
Is nobody else available to work the other time?
Not on my current staff, no. And with this new system, I'm staring at the screen, working through getting to the next phase of the system, so it's gonna be easier for a younger person than an older person, because they don't have a problem pushing buttons and navigating it. Older guys, we just kind of stare at the screen saying, what the hell do we do next?
That's like,
John.
Am I lying? I mean, that's
No.
reality. Technology advances,
I'm
it
always
just keeps
afraid
moving.
to
Well, I don't
press
know.
the X and say, uh-oh.
What about,
Exactly.
what about a next meeting?
Should we try and set a next meeting? And also, I'll email out once I get back from Richard in Florida anyway, but let's try and set a regular meeting anyway.
I
I'll
can't
be
do
around,
the
I'm
second,
gonna-
that's the only, that's a Thursday, right?
Yeah, and I can't do the 16th.
Right.
Do the either 9 or 23.
I can do the 9th.
I can do both, either one.
Yeah,
Nine.
9th,
We'll
right,
say
The
May
9th.
9th.
May 9th.
here,
May 9th.
4:30.
Yep.
May.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.